Hello everyone, can you hear us? We're just going to do a quick mic check. Do you want to say hi, Matt, and see if your audio is fine too?
Hello. Hope this works.
I might turn you up a little bit more.
Alright.
Let us know how it sounds. I also need to jump back over to my other tab. Yeah, just let us know in the chat if it sounds okay, and then we know we can start doing the actual Q&A. People are chatting. They can hear us both. Can you hear us both fine? We're about the same audio levels, and it's not going to be annoying for the rest of the stream. No one's complaining about it, so it's probably fine. So, I always forget to check this. I think this is number 7. I don't number these in the playlist, but I think we're number 7, maybe number 8. So I'll say 7. Welcome to the 7th.
I do the same thing.
Yeah, welcome to the 7th GameDev Q&A live stream. This time we're here with Matt Bull. First of all, if you are here from Matt's channel, I'm Nathan Dapper Dino. I do Unity tutorials, usually more intermediate stuff, and recently I've been doing a focus on multiplayer networking. That's the main thing I've been doing. There's also other stuff too. And then Matt, do you want to tell us about what you do?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm Matt. I am a game director of Little Games, and also I do YouTube. I am about 2 months away from fully releasing my first game. It's been in development for about a year and a bit now, so yeah.
Okay. We've put your link to your channel down below, and from there, I'm guessing people can go find other links too to whatever else other social media you have. So yeah, this is going to be, again, a Q&A live stream. So start sending the questions in the chat. I should have said that right at the start. I've been asked if I'm Milk Gang. I am, but not right now. Yeah, out of all my friends, only me and one other of my friends likes drinking milk, like actually drinking milk straight. I love it. I'm weird to a lot of people for that, but yeah, I am Milk Gang for those that asked. Though right now I have apple juice, because why not? I always seem to have apple juice on stream. That's not no particular reason.
My poison is water. That's all.
That's all you drink?
Plain. Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, not all I drink, but like all I drink on stream.
I guess it's probably the best for actually keeping you hydrated. I swear we always, at the start of the stream, talk about drinks or food. I mean, with Jabril's last week, we just talked about pizza for the first 10 minutes. I can't remember if that was his fault or chat's fault, but yeah. So that's the only question we've had so far. Has anyone got questions about game dev instead of food? We can pivot off this now. Hello, everyone in the chat. I guess people are still coming in. I mean, when I started, there was like 6 people. We've got like 16 now. People are saying hi. Yep. We can just I'm gonna actually not look at the chat because that will get me distracted with random messages. Oh, here we go. We can start the questions now. As Unity devs, what's one feature you wish Unity had? I'm guessing he means like a feature of the engine that's maybe missing or maybe not complete. So, do you want to start? Do you have an idea?
Not really.
It's something you have to think about, like what. Because the thing about Unity, obviously, the reason it's so good is it has pretty much everything you need.
I know you can do a lot of things you need to do anyway. Yeah. I think out of all the things I'd say would be a good idea would be to, I don't know, maybe in terms of like custom inspectors and stuff. I feel like that needs to be a bit more user friendly, because it feels a bit clunky at the moment.
You mean to make your own custom inspectors?
Yeah, like I feel like it should be, I don't know, some way.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I can't really think of much. It's a bit of a difficult.
The UI builder stuff that they're working on is for editor and runtime UI, but it's like the same tool. Right. Have you seen it? Like, it's got its own UI with drag and drop, but you can also you design it like a web page in a sense, because it has its own CSS stuff, and the point in it is, I think it's like you write the runtime UI just how you'd write editor UI. Because the thing is, right now, is you can learn how to build a UI for your game, then it's still completely foreign language to know how, not literally a language, but to make editor UI, I'm like, what the hell do I do? It's weird seeing if button. I've used it like a few times, but just the kind of way it works, there's no binding, like data binding. you can't just have like a variable and say this text input binds to this string. As far as I'm aware, you have to like have code say when this changes.
I mean, I haven't dabbled in it enough, I guess, but like I feel like from what I've heard and from what I've very little dabbled in, I feel like that would be something that I would.
Yeah, I think it's probably the reason why I haven't messed with making much editor stuff is because it doesn't look nice to work with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not very easy.
No.
When you first look at it, I suppose.
I'm trying to think what else if I had to pick a different answer. I could definitely have answered this in the past, but they've added a few of the things that I thought of. So, like, for example, shader graph. When I was starting, I was like, Unreal Engine has this awesome shader editor. Blender has a shader editor. Unity doesn't, apart from third-party assets. I was like, it would make sense if Unity added it themselves, and then only a bit later did they actually add it. And then over time, it's been given more features. But yeah, as of right now, I don't think they're really missing anything obvious that I'm like annoyed about.
Yeah, there's nothing that immediately sticks out to me that would be crucial.
No, I think it's pretty.
I think it's got what it needs.
Yeah, people have been making games with it for a while, so it can't be missing that much stuff. Obviously, people make their own tools, buy assets, that stuff, but there's less of a reason to now. Because, like I said, if you wanted a shader editor back in the day, you'd have to make it yourself or buy it from someone. But now, the one they give is actually really good. And most people I've spoken to who code shaders have said like, yeah, don't bother learning it, just use shader graph. Like, they're trying to save you from the torture of actually learning to write the stuff. And then the fact that, I mean, if you've ever tried, like, there's no IntelliSense, and the documentation isn't actually Unity documentation, it's like NVIDIA documentation for the shader code. And I've tried and I've given up on it before. So yeah, shader graph is definitely good. What else are people asking? I mean, let us know in the chat as well if you have any features that you think Unity's missing, and we can talk about that if anyone has anything. But yeah, I can't think of anything that important.
Yeah, there's nothing that immediately sticks out to me.
Oh, people are saying multiplayer. Yeah, I mean, I should have had that on the top of my mind because I've been doing multiplayer stuff. But yeah, I've been using third-party stuff for that. Funnily enough, perfect time to plug. Now, the course we've been doing is multiplayer, and when I started making it, I had the dilemma of, okay, Unity's own multiplayer is deprecated. They're not working on it. They're not fixing and improving it. So if you find a bug, then you're basically screwed. So you can't really use that. And they're going to get rid of it at some point. And then there's no official Unity solution right now. There's the new netcode stuff, but it's not out yet. So we're in this like period of time where the old one's gone, but the new one isn't here yet. So you have to use a third-party solution or make your own. So like, yeah, for the course, I chose Mirror, and those who have seen the channel, I've used Mirror. Everyone else probably knows about Mirror and Photon. Those are like the two big ones. But they work very differently in the way that Mirror, you host it yourself. It's server.
Photon is server-based.
Yeah, you have to pay them. They have the user limit, and Photon is a bit easier to set up, but that's the only advantage I see to using it. When I switched to Mirror, it was just better in pretty much every way. And even then, to test against yourself, it's as simple as start as host, start as client, done. It gets a bit more complicated when you need to host it on like a web server somewhere, but you know, that's like the only drawback. And in every other way, I see Mirror as better, especially if you're going to go work for a company and work on a multiplayer game. Yeah, it's gonna be more similar. Yeah, because it's proper client server architecture, server authoritative stuff. Photon's like not, you can't really do all that stuff. It's just meant to be simple for indie devs to do out the box, which, you know, you might want that, but yeah. And like Mick has linked there, there's a course that we released yesterday. Yeah, I got to get all the plugs in now. Yeah, we did a course with GameDevTV making a full RTS. I mean, I've done multiplayer tutorials on the channel, and they're going to keep coming. They're free. People can go watch them. The course is like a full actual game, and it's a lot more dedicated with more learning resources and like guaranteed long-term support. Anyone who does a YouTube channel, you know, if you get a question on a video from a year ago, I just sometimes can't be bothered answering if it's from that long ago. Because if I'm getting many comments a day, and I've got comments on my new videos and comments on my old ones, it makes more sense to spend time answering the more recent comments on the new videos. Because sometimes the problem people have with the old videos is they're just outdated. In which case, I have updated videos before, like released a how to use it in 2020 video. But you can't do that for everything forever. Tech just advances.
Do that for every single video. Yeah.
It just advances too much. I mean, from your channel, what is like the main focus of your content? Because I know you do a lot of the live streams, but apart from that,
to be fair, it's been a bit of a weird thing. Because back when I started, it was just to show off like my development journey sort of thing. I guess, you know, as everyone else was doing back when I started, like it was sort of that was when like devlogs really started like coming up and stuff. But to be fair, like I think I did sort of find most of my joy in like podcasting and stuff, because, you know, I did that for, I don't know, several, it's been a couple years that I did it. It's been the series remained, but I mean, I feel like for me, my next focus is with video essays and stuff. I'm currently working on a couple I plan to get out, and I think that's the sort of stuff that I've enjoyed making the most as well. It's stuff that's like, it feels really professional and stuff, so I don't know, that's something that I'm sort of going towards now. But yeah, I mean, I feel like, you know, I tried tutorials, like I did like 2, and like I was just like, you know, this is all right, but like it's not something that I'm particularly interested in, and you know, I help people in other ways rather than tutorials. So I don't know, it's interesting, because I think that's what's so fascinating about the YouTube community for game dev, is there's like people that are like into these different little niche bits, and then everyone is like, wow, nice stuff, and then they all come together. I think that's what's so great about the community, is that like everyone's so closely knit no matter what you do. So yeah, and I feel like design stuff is more my focus, giving my feedback on design and stuff, you know.
Yeah, it's good that everyone can have their own community about what they do. So at first I was thinking, you know, all these big communities are all about the beginner channels, like all the beginner ones have the big followings and all the big communities, and I did more coding, intermediate, scary stuff to beginners. And I thought, you know, maybe it'll never take off, and maybe there's not people that want that stuff, but there are, and it just took me a while to keep going at it to realize that. And like you said, you tried tutorials, it wasn't for you. I've tried like entertaining videos and doing other little things. I did a couple, and I was like, you know, yeah, it's fun. They take a lot more effort. It's not my thing. I'm not good at like coming up with comedic stuff, or like entertaining.
The irony in that is that like when I was doing tutorials, I felt it took more effort than the entertaining things. So, you know,
yeah, it's based on the person you are. Like, yeah, I come to tutorials and I just think, I know this thing, people want to know it, I know how to teach it, let's make the video. I do usually like prototype it first. Like, it might have been a while since I've done the thing I'm teaching, so I'll just make a little prototype, like, yeah, this is what I want to cover in the video, and then I shove it on my second monitor and refer back to it if I like need to during the video. But after doing tutorials for like roughly 2 years, you get used to it, and you know, the way your workflow gets better, I'd say.
Yeah, like well, I think that's with game dev anyway. Like as a whole, it's like as you progress, your workflow gets a lot more streamlined and much better.
Yeah, like
I
the
remember
quality.
When I started, you know, it's just like comparing it to back when you start, is like it's completely so much better than what it was, you know. So.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's had the dreaded thing of, well, anyone that has had a channel or made content of any kind, watching your old videos is just horrible. Like,
yeah, no.
The other day I went back to like my first tutorial, and it's like super low volume, and I'm just like, a day with like making this, and it was like, why did people watch this? And then since then, like the mic quality's got better, the way I talk is just better, like confidence maybe helps, and then also you know, I think that is something that you start gathering up as you progress, is you get more confident in yourself and actually understanding how to speak properly. Like, as silly as it sounds, like when you're starting off, you don't really know how to speak to a microphone. It's quite weird. Yeah, because
you're like speaking to a microphone on your own. You're not speaking to anyone really. And then like over time, you're like actually you're speaking to loads of people. It's weird.
When I started, I thought my audio was like fine. Like it wasn't amazing, but it wasn't too bad. Now I look and I'm like, it's atrocious. It's awful. And then now it's like, the video quality's got better. The speed I do editing, the way I do everything is just better. And it's not just tutorials, like you say, it's for any kind of thing. Just for game dev in general, making the games, you know. doing certain things you've done before, it just like you know how to do it better and faster, and like yeah, I can look back at code I wrote a few months ago and like cry at how bad it looks. It's all everyone's improving all the time at such a rate that like it can just be a couple of months ago you look back and you're like, why did I do that? But it's a good sign that you're progressing.
Yeah, but I think it's a good idea to sometimes look back as well, because it's good to compare yourself, because then like you see, hey, I actually have done a lot in the past 2 months or something, you know, like it's like our first big game, or my first big game. It's like it's really weird looking back to the first build of the game. It was made for Ludum Dare 45 initially, so like looking back now, you're like, wow, that was made in 3 days, and now it's like a year and a bit later, and it's so much better than what it used to be. You know, it's crazy.
With game jams though, like I'm busy doing a lot of other stuff, and then there's also the tutorials. So when I actually get time to work on games, I never really get stuff done or like a finished product. But with game jams, I do. That's like the one time I get stuff done. And me and Jabril's talked quite a bit about game jams, so not going to spend the rest of the stream talking about it, but
yeah,
they are really good for making you get stuff done. Because at least for me, having that time constraint makes me just get stuff done. It does require you in game jams to cut some corners, but in the end, it's probably worth it because you know everyone else has to cut corners too. So you know, you just come up with the idea and you make it, and you get something released. You know, even if it's not a commercial Steam product, it's just like free to download on itch. It's like you've still made something you can say you've done. And the only games and projects I've ever fully finished, released, and then that's it, done, have been game jams. Everything else I've done has been either for tutorials, so it's still, I'm finishing something, but it's with the purpose to teach, not for people to play. Or I've just got projects that I work on in my own time for the fun, for learning, not with a plan of releasing. Maybe in the future, if I ever get the chance to be able to work on a game properly, that would be fun. But yeah, right now, I mean, we're both, you know, young in the scene, relatively. I mean, do you mind saying? Because people usually want to know.
I'm 17.
17, I'm 19. I had to think about that. 19, yeah. I think I was. So wait, I'm trying to think. 17. I don't know if I started in. I think I started when I was 16. Like started, but I say started. If I look back then to what I was doing at 16, I was just my projects were just the tutorials I was following, like, because some people, when they follow a tutorial, will do it, but then swap their own assets in, so it's their own. But because I'm more of a programmer, I never had the modeling stuff to put in. I was wanting to learn the programming. So the projects would look the same, but I'd at least know, well, at least I'm learning the code, like learning just all about the Unity API. And then, like, as well as games, I've also done, like, web dev stuff, and I've looked into other areas, but it's mainly games and web are the two things. I think they're very common in computer science anyway. They're, like, two of the biggest. I think there's also, like, data science and AI, but I'm not as big into that, so.
Yeah, no, I'm games and apps, so I'm like, that's what I've been doing.
Have you been
software development sort of just propped up, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, has that been like Unity mobile apps or like
like C#, Xamarin, like Visual Studio, so I've been using Xamarin, and I've been also doing some also it is quite fun. I don't know, it's weird because back when you start, like, you're just sort of like, oh, I want to make games and stuff. Like, that's when, like, okay, I'll just make some game, and then suddenly you're actually making the game. Like, as weird as back when you start, you're not making games really, you're like making these prototypey things. But like when you first complete like your first thing or make your first instrument or whatever, it's like it is really mind-blowing that you've actually been able to like that.
We're getting a bit of lag on Discord, I think. Hopefully it'll sort itself out. I don't know what it would be. I don't know if we should try recalling to see if that fixes it. I mean, we'll just keep going and see if it happens, but yeah, I don't want to just continue if like the voice is lagging out. But I think it's time to move on to another question. I think we took a question and then kind of moved on and branched off, but yeah. As for the questions people are asking, how did we each start out with game dev, what got us into it? What is inspiration? This is like the question we get every single time. So I'm sure the mainly people are wondering what you think, because I've answered this every time. So we'll start with you. Yeah.
Okay. I got into it 3 years ago. I was 14 when I started. Don't really remember how. Like, it was sort of, I think I got recommended a YouTube video, and it was like this. I don't know who it was. I think it might have been Thin Matrix. Probably. Let's be honest. And I saw a devlog by him, and I was sort of got the inspiration to sort of search it up a bit more and like understand what game development was. I was a creative person. Like, I was writing books beforehand, so like I was like, okay, I'll have a peek to see what, and then suddenly I got like really invested into programming, because like back when I was 10 or 11, I started like programming in Python. It was really bad. It was still the start of it, and I was quite intrigued into it. But yeah, I think what got me into it was just me being a creative person, and it was just by chance that like a YouTube video came up, and I was like, yeah. I my inspiration was the Matrix back at the start, and then Blackthorn Prod sort of started to come about, and that was the one that I was thinking.
Let's try redoing the call really quick, just to see if that helps. Let's hope.
Let's fix.
Okay, let's continue and hope it all works. You don't like your image doesn't look as laggy now, like it looks all pixelated, so hopefully it's working now. We'll leave it as a Discord issue. So where were we? We're asking about how we got into it. So I'll give a short answer because, like I said, I've answered it so many times now. I know people want to know, and also the people in the chat aren't necessarily the same people every single time. So I started by downloading on Steam the like Skyrim developer toolkit, where you could like literally go into the game and make your own dungeons, quests, NPCs. You got like the actual dev tools, and I was having fun with that. So it's effectively modding, I guess. I didn't release mods, I just messed for myself. And then I was like, okay, but how do I make my own game? This is just messing with a game that already exists. And then I played with Game Maker for a bit. And I was like, okay, but this can't do 3D games, and also I'm told if you want to go into the industry, you kind of need to know more than just Game Maker. And for programming, the language is just for Game Maker as well. So I then was, met at the crossroads of, do I use Unity? Do I use Unreal Engine? And I did try both, though I think I tried Unreal quite a bit later, and I never really got into Unreal. I tried Unity, realized you need to know C#, but at school they only taught Python. So I'd done a bit of Python, was like, all right, I understand variables a bit and classes and functions and stuff. And then took C# programming stuff. And then this isn't just for the plug. I genuinely did start like watching GameDevTV their old courses. That helped me get a bit into Unity because I needed to learn Unity and C#. And the way they did the beginner tutorials was assuming you didn't know C# as well. It wasn't like make sure you know C# then start learning GameDev. It was 2 in 1. So I started with that, and then also YouTube tutorials too. Obviously Brackeys, but then like who else at the time? Because a lot of the big people now weren't really big at the time. I think
exactly.
Saiku Sam, he was there. Who else? I watched a bit of Blackthorn Prod too, but obviously he does more of the design stuff, which isn't my forte. So I can't remember like which programming people. I think maybe Jason Wyman. He does more like intermediate to advanced programming architecture stuff.
I can't even like think of the people that I like that were there back when I started, because like now they're like some of them are really big, and like I can't remember if they started like last year or when they started. It's so hard to keep track now because there's so many game devs out there now in comparison. Like back when I started, there was like a handful of developers really, like there was somewhat significant, and now there's like literally tons.
Yeah, there's people who've got bigger. There's people who have stopped. There's more people. It's just ever changing and hard to remember. Like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I can't remember exactly who I was watching. But yeah, the main thing was, like, as I said, playing games got me the interest, and then I had to look up like how to do it, and then I ended up in Unity and doing C# stuff, and then it went from there. Because my first videos were just, look at this thing I made this week in Unity, and then a few people were like, hey, you should do tutorials, and I was like, I'll give it a shot, and then here we are. So yeah, YouTube comments do matter, especially when you're starting. You have one comment a day max, and so you really take those comments to heart because they're the only things you read. But now, like, yeah, it's at the point where I try and read a chunk a day, but yeah, you know, the more time you spend reading comments, the less time you get planning. But I always read it if I'm not sure what I want to make a tutorial on. I always either ask or see what people are talking about in the comments, because that's usually a good indication of what the people want to see. Yeah, we got quite more questions. Yeah, so game dev requires a lot of skills like sound, art, design, code. What are our strengths and weaknesses?
Well, for me, my design is probably my strongest, and then I'd say coding is my second strongest. But then my weakness is definitely art. I cannot do art to save my life. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people probably expect, I say coding is obviously the strong point there. What's my worst? I'd say like UI 2D art stuff. I'm like semi-competent with 3D stuff. Like I spent time actually learning Blender to some extent, and I understand how a lot of it works, and I can make like placeholder models. I'm not gonna make like a fully detailed character with all the everything right, but I know all like the technical stuff about like weight painting and bones and how to rig a character and animate it. That doesn't mean I'm amazing at animation. I've not studied animation, but I know how to do it enough for myself. So I'd say, it's not like strongest point coding, weakest point 2D UI, Photoshop, image editing. That's not I can't do that stuff now. Yeah, I think that answers that question. Have we got any more questions since then? Let's have a quick look in the chat. Mick, send us some more questions, unless there aren't any, but I'll go looking in the chat real quick. How do we balance game dev, YouTube, school, work, and family stuff?
That's a good question. I like that one. I don't know, it really depends on the week. I don't know. I sort of...
What games did Matt make?
My varies quite a lot. Like, I aim to do a bunch of stuff, like, in 1 week, and then I'll end up, like, just changing the whole routine around. But yeah, I mean, for school and stuff, I mean, for me, it's only 3 days a week, so I'm lucky in that regard. So I have a lot of free time to do, like, game dev, and, you know, like, family stuff is just also there, like, the weekends and stuff.
Yeah, I think that stuff kind of helps a bit when you're younger, but also when you're younger, I mean, at every age, there's still stuff you've got to do, and that stuff just changes. But yeah, most people I know that do game dev actually find quite a bit of time to do it, because it's maybe their work and their hobby at the same time.
Yeah, so yeah, that's for me.
Also, we actually got a £5 donation. Someone was asking, what games did Matt make? Or, well, as far as I remember, you said you've made one game, well, that's about to be publicly released, right?
So it's in early access at the moment on Steam. Game's called Millions of Minions. It's like a dungeon crawler roguelite, where you use these little undead creatures to like defend yourself and attack the oncoming enemies and stuff.
Do you want to send a link?
Yeah, sure.
If you send me a link, I'll post it in the chat, because I don't think anyone else is allowed to post in chat. I don't know if I even have control over that. I've not manually... Oh, you've got a link ready. All right. Yeah, you guys go... Ah, damn it, I can't send it through there. I have to send it through here. There's the link if you want to go check it out.
But yeah, I mean, it's an early access, and then in a couple of months we're fully releasing, which is quite worrying.
So, I noticed you say we. So how many people are working on it?
Yeah, there's 5 of us, or 6. It's sort of it's 5 or 6. It depends on the like. There's one person that's sort of on and off at the moment. But yeah, we have me as the game director, and I'm a lead programmer. We got an artist, and he does all the art. He also does some programming. And then we have 2 musicians, or 3 musicians, and 2 sound designers. And then we also have a community manager on our team.
That's pretty big for like indie. Like, is everyone like same age? Is it people at school, or is it?
No, yes.
Okay.
Everyone's roughly the same age. There's only one person that is a bit older than us. But yeah, no, I started it out with this really shoddy ad that like was probably the worst thing you've ever seen in your life. It had the worst color schemes ever. Like, none of the colors complemented each other. But yeah, I was lucky enough to get a response about an artist, and yeah, we sort of just spoke, and then it's just sort of steadily increased from there, because we asked like for sound designers, and then we got sound designers, and then we asked musicians, and we got musicians. So
yeah, when I was doing like sixth form, which obviously doesn't mean anything to people outside the UK probably, but what age is that? Like 16, 17 roughly?
Yeah.
When I was in sixth form, I was considering like getting a group of people in computer science together to work on a game, but then only like 1 or 2 of the people even did game dev beforehand, and I didn't want to have to like force them or like make them or like tutor them into getting into game dev just to work on a project. It'd be too much stuff if they weren't already interested and hadn't looked into it. And I think I tried starting to make something with one of my friends who was into game dev, but then it just never really took off. So I think it's quite cool that like you actually managed to get a team together for that stuff. And I see people all the time in Discord servers like, I have this idea, come give me programming for my game. And yeah, I think people need to like know how to go about forming a group for that, because you're not usually going to get anywhere if you just say, this is my idea, please help. I think you know, because think if you saw that, would you say yes to it? You know, you got to think that way.
Exactly. I think it's like the whole, because I had to do a lot of studying for like community management and stuff. You know, it's a big part of game dev, and in the time that I was sort of learning about it and learning the best parts about it, like one thing that always came up was the fact that like you need to know your product, right, before you sell it. Obviously, I mean that should be pretty self-explanatory, but so many people don't like actually do it, if that makes sense. Like, they don't even like think about what their game actually is, what they're making. Like, really, you should have a prototype before you're asking for loads of people. Like, if you're into design and stuff, maybe just like do some sort of sketch or like a storyboard or something like that to show that you actually have something to show. But yeah, again, like to attract people, like visuals is very important. Like, people aren't going to really care if you're just putting this block of text. Like, you have to sort of, if you add a bit of visuals with it, then you're probably going to go a lot further, because, you know, visuals are obviously going to shine out from the crowd of all of the blocks of text that are in the Discord servers as well. So I don't know. That's what I've learned.
If you just write some text saying, I'm making this genre of game where you do this, if you don't have anything to go with that, people just think, oh, it's just that other game that is that genre. Like, it doesn't stand out. It's just, you know.
Yeah.
Because with ideas for this kind of stuff, the chances are, for the most part, if you come up with an idea for a game, the idea already exists. It's a case of how well was it executed and how well will you execute it. Because, you know, a lot of games people play are the same genre. It's like, why do you pick one over the other? Why do you pick one competitive shooter over the other, one MOBA over the other? Maybe it's the characters. Maybe it's the... I don't know. That was just the first thing that comes to mind. But also just the visual design in general. Maybe it's one's like more competitive than the other. And those are all the design choices. And, you know, having like a design document, or just the more planning you get, the more likely someone is to consider it. If they just see a paragraph of text saying, I want to make this genre of game and you do this, please help me, it's not very enticing for anyone really. So yeah. But also I know a lot of people are just an indie dev. They don't plan on coming up with an idea to release a commercial game right now. They just want to learn by working on a team. And I guess the best way to do that is to find other people in the same boat. But also, maybe the problem with that is then you're all beginners, so you don't have anyone to guide you on the team. It might be beneficial to have someone with the knowledge to kind of take lead, but you still work on it. And you know, otherwise, you know, how else do you really get the work experience?
It's a tough scenario. I mean, it's a bit difficult when you're starting out. You don't know this stuff as well. Like right when you're a beginner, you don't really realize all the negatives of whatever you're doing. Like you think it's like, oh, maybe it'll work, sort of thing. It's like you're always taking these, like, I wouldn't say risks, but you know, you're trying out these new things to try and see what works and what doesn't. So I don't know. It's something you learn over time. I mean, I feel like game jams are definitely a good way of doing something like that. I mean, I personally haven't really dabbled in that myself, but I know a lot of people that have found a team in a game jam have ended up like gelling quite well together. I don't know though. I mean, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, and also like game jams are just really good at, like I said, getting games out there. But also, if you consistently do game jams and you make more games, due to the themes, you're going to make different genres of games. You know, you could try and maybe force the genre every time, but it's not a good idea. So you kind of develop, well, if you're an artist, you might develop your art style. I mean, for example, you mentioned Blackthorn Prod. Everyone recognizes his stuff, no matter what it is he's making. You could argue that's also, maybe different games should have different styles, but also, you know, if he has his style he's good at doing, and if he can make it work in different genres, then why not, you know? That's like his thing, really, is his style. People recognize it. But yeah, if you do game jams and you're a programmer, let's say, you get the benefit of knowing how to make systems for different types of games. Whether that's, I mean, I'm trying to think
efficiently as well.
For game jams, I've done like a platformer, a card game. I can't remember what else off the top of my head, but yeah, like a few different genres of games. And then in my own time, I've made like an RTS and a shooter. So it's like just getting the experience with different genres of games then means when you want to try making a new genre of game, you just know how to do it. Same with programming languages. You learn one, then by the time you've learned your second one, learning a third is easy. You know, some might say once you've learned one, then learning a second is easy. But it's the first time you're learning how to kind of translate between two languages. You have to learn, like, you know, okay, well, this is how you make a class in C#. How do I do it in this other language? And once you've learned how to translate once, you can translate again and again. That's the way I'd see it. But if I ever have to do anything now and it's some package using some language from something else, I'm not usually like, oh no, I have to learn this new thing. I'm like, okay, cool. How do I do this in this language? And when I started, I was like, having to learn a new language to do this thing. But no, as a programmer now, I don't know, I like learning new stuff. I'm sure most people probably in the community like learning new stuff. It's generally a good thing.
Yeah. I've noticed someone's noticed we have the same chair.
Oh, someone's noticed it now. Wait, where's that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I noticed it actually ages ago. I mentioned it to you earlier. When I first saw your channel, I was like, that's my chair. Oh, that's the same chair, not my chair. And
that's
then
my chair.
Yeah. But then you had it first, apparently. So I guess I copied without intentionally copying, because I think I got the chair before I saw your channel, but you got the chair before I got the chair. So I guess you win in that sense. But yeah, we said earlier, do we tell people to laugh about it, or do we wait till they figure it out to then laugh about it? And someone found it out. And almost nothing on their walls. I got a shelf and wallpaper.
Well, I mean, I've got another poster, but I can't hang it up because it's too big at the moment.
I'm
waiting on a frame.
Whenever I use my webcam, I actually take down one of the posters I have just because it's kind of behind me, so it's distracting. I don't know. But yeah. Also, when I've been doing other recording for like the course that I did, the sales video, they wanted the background like clear, so it's just me, no distractions, and I'm talking about the stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have a very interesting background, but you know, I assume most people watching just listen. From as far as I'm aware, they just listen. It's kind of like a podcast.
Well, I mean, I would hope so.
Yeah. Looking, you know, it's nice to have that human interaction, like, hello, I'm here, here's a guest. But also, I know a lot of people just minimize, do something else, and listen to the chat. So
yeah, a lot of people that do that. It's crazy.
The same chair, but a different face. Yeah, we're not the same. Yeah.
And same room.
Yeah.
I mean, different room.
We're not streaming in the same room. No. What other questions do we have? Or what was the last one we answered? It was about being motivated. Oh no, it was balancing. It was balancing. Yeah. So
it's the motivated one.
Staying motivated when you're grinding through boring stuff.
I like that one. That's funny. I don't know. I think it's something that's like you need to. I think my biggest takeaway from it is that like, you need to make sure you're. I guess it's hard to say, but I feel like you need to know your limits of yourself to stay motivated, like knowing when you need to take the breaks and stuff, and knowing that it's okay to take breaks. I think that's the most crucial thing, because like some people, they don't really like realize when they need to like actually slow down, and they just keep going. Like, because some people, or a lot of people, game dev is also like a hobby as well as their work sort of thing. So making sure that you don't always use it as like a hobby is a pretty good thing. I don't know, it's weird juggling act, because like game dev is one of those things. It's like it's got a lot of little bits and bobs like associated with it that are like so different to other bits of work. So it's something that you'll sort of learn it over time, I think.
Yeah, I guess my addition to that is like when you're more passionate about the thing you're doing, you get through the boring things without really thinking they're boring, or like as much as they are.
Yeah.
If you're not passionate about the thing you're doing, and then you get to a boring part, you think it's even more boring. So I know it's hard to just tell someone be passionate, but it's a case of, it's true. If you're more passionate about the project you're doing, you'll be better at doing the job. You'll get stuff done better. You'll just be more productive. And like it's the same when people are trying to go to work at a company. If you have the the privilege of being able to choose between multiple jobs, I know some people need to take a certain job, but if you can choose between different companies and you are more passionate about a certain product or service one of them offers, you want to work on it more, you're just going to enjoy it so much more. You're not going to find it as boring. And when it comes to game dev, like or there's certain things in development, software development in general, that I get a bit like, oh, we got to deal with that now. It's like databases and migrations and stuff. It's like, for those of you who've done that, I don't know, but it's just a little pain. It's a bit tedious, but it's also about like the end goal. As long as it doesn't take too much time, it's the same with anything. At the end of the day, if you're making games, it's already a fun thing to be doing anyway. You're making games, so I'm sure it's not too bad to have a little bit of annoyance, but the more passionate, the less annoyed you will be.
I mean, for us, I'm currently porting the game to Xbox alone, and like the documentation is it's pretty much non-existent. So you're learning this stuff like without any hand holding and stuff. It is really difficult, and like you have to, like, one of the requirements is like cloud storage and stuff, and like inputting that and like replacing the current serialization, it is a real pain. But like it's just seeing that end goal and knowing, okay, once this is done, then the game I can finally put it to rest, and I could just I can work on something new or take a break.
And you can be proud that you've done it, and then when you do it again, you understand the process. It's the same with like you say with Xbox, and then like a while ago it was the same when I was trying to publish to Google Play, and then recently publishing to the iOS App Store. Like going through all that stuff is so painful. But once you've done it once, it's like, well, next time you just know how to.
It'll be much easier, and I think that's also why we're porting to so many platforms with this game. Like we put it to mobile and Xbox, and I think the reason we're doing that, well, the reason I'm doing it is so that for our future projects, I'll know what to do, and it's gonna be so much easier. I won't have to worry about it as much, because right now we're quite small, so we can get away with like a few of the mistakes in it. So like when it comes to actually when we get a little bit bigger and stuff, we'll be able to perfect it a lot more, and I think that's the biggest takeaway from it.
Learn as much as you can, as fast as you can, I guess, because once you have that knowledge, then it just makes your life easier as you go on. I mean, you're always going to be learning new stuff, but still. It's, you know, everything you've learned is still just one more thing ticked off the list of things to learn. And yeah,
it's just this towering
it
list.
Is a huge list. Yeah, and it's not a list I could come up with right now and give people, because if I did that, then people would add another 200 things on. Or
and then there'll be about 50 hours added onto the stream.
So that was about grinding through the boring stuff. Next is, I think it's a question to me because it's about Mirror, but is Mirror capable of providing functionality to search random players into a queue and connect players in a head-to-head match? So yes and no. You can do that with Mirror, but it's not like a Mirror thing. Mirror is simply for like running a server and then like connecting clients. You'd need to build your own or find some third-party like matchmaking system, and I think Steam has a matchmaking thing in the API somewhere. I haven't messed with it, but you can use that. I'm not saying I know how to right now, but it's one of those things where if I know how to do it at some point, I'll make a tutorial on it for sure, because I know plenty of people want to see. But yeah, right now it's more like I've done direct connection, so I will like start a host and a friend will put in the IP and join, or they'll join through Steam. I've made it work with Steam instead of port forwarding, but with Steam right now, it's a case of right click on your friends list and join, which works for custom games. But if people want matchmaking to actually work, then you're going to need to look into Steam matchmaking or some other solution or your own solution. And then also you might want like web hosting, in which case you got to pick Amazon, Microsoft for Azure, Google Cloud. You know, it gets a bit more complicated when you're taking it seriously and want to release. And it's hard for me to do tutorials on that, because if I pick a tutorial on how to use Amazon Web Service to host, then someone's going to be like, but I want to use this, but I want to use that, but I want to use this. And I already had to make that choice with Mirror. I've had people saying, but why not use this? Why use that multiplayer thing over this? And it's like, well, then that's 10 more video series people need to know how to use. And it's like, maybe I'll get around to it one day, but I had to make a choice at some point. You know, it's just what it is. When I did DiscoBot tutorials ages ago, I picked at the start a JavaScript library, and someone's like, why not use the Python library? And it's like, because I chose to do the JavaScript library. You know, if I did the Python one, I'd have probably even more people saying, why didn't you use the JavaScript library? So that's just how it is with YouTube. You know, you've got to try and you've got to make some choices that some people will be happy about, and some will, you know, whine about not doing other things. And to be honest, I ended up doing the same series kind of in C# as well, because I know majority of my audience is C# because of Unity. So if they're going to do Disco bots and they know C#, then there's some overlap and it might be something that's interesting to them. But it's not like I've done a series for every package that exists to do Disco bots in. That would... No.
Well, you'd be there forever.
Yeah. So I think that answers the Mirror question. So this is for both of us, so you can answer first. Do you guys plan on one day working at a big game dev or software engineering company? And if so, what path are you taking to achieve this goal? University? ?
Yeah, I think it's in the back of my mind. Like, it's not something that I necessarily like really want to do, but it's something that like if I have to do in order to do game dev, then I'll do that on the side along with indie development. That's the sort of thing I've been it's been on my mind there. And yeah, I'm planning on going to university next year. So
yeah. I in the past thought like, yes, I want to do game dev, to work at a big game dev company. And then over time I've realized, well, you know, indie dev's pretty good. You don't have people telling you what to do. You get more control, more freedom, more flexibility. Though I guess, you know, you get experience as an indie dev doing everything, but you don't get the experience that you would at a big company working on a big team. You know, it's a different environment. It's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
So it's like if you never did indie dev and you just worked at a company, you would still be missing out on the indie experience. So it's not a case of one or the other. I think they're both valuable experiences. And I can't talk for, you know, the company one. I've not gone and worked at EA or Blizzard or Riot Games or big companies, Valve. But like, is it something I would ever consider doing? I'd say yes, like consider doing it to get the experience, but it's not like an end goal that I'm trying to work towards. I'm not like pursuing it right now. I'm doing.
I think my end goal is to be sustainable with indie development. Like, I think that is the dream. It would be like really cool to be able to actually live doing
exactly. Like people see working at a company as more secure. It's a job that already exists and you get paid a set wage, so it's a safer option. But then again, with indie dev, you get more control, so you do get more responsibilities. So like more pressure, I guess, in that sense, but also more freedom, potentially better rewards, potentially fewer rewards. It's just a bigger risk. It's like running your own business, running your own game dev studio, indie studio, whatever. It's not for everyone, but you know, if it's for you, then it can be a really good thing. So it isn't a question of do this, do that. I guess no, it was a question of our choices, and I think both of us are agreeing we're not striving to work at a big company, but we're also not against ever doing it. So
yeah. Exactly.
What source control do we use? Well, I use GitHub for pretty much everything, except the GameDevTV course. They use GitLab at the moment. Don't know why. I mean, it still uses. I use source tree like to do. I don't use command line stuff because I don't want to mess with that. Like I've done it. I've used the command line to do Git stuff, but I try not to mess with it too much because I don't know. It's just another thing to learn, but it's not that valuable when there's like a UI to do all the same things, and I still know the commands if I ever have to do it without a UI, but it's still faster. If I want to go push and commit, I don't have to be like, commit all the files and then push to this branch. It's just a case of click a button, type in a commit message, and go. So yeah, people have their preferences. Some people are like console elitists, like they will never use any program to do it for them. They'll always do it in the command line. But like Rob's saying, everyone's using source control, right? Yeah, if you're working on a game or any software project and you're not using source control, you know, please don't tell me you have like a folder, and inside that folder for your game you've got version 1, version 2, version final. I've seen all the memes, and it's
version final.
Are you saying this as like a flashback or something?
No. I'm just like I have a builds folder with all the Millions of Minions builds, and there's like 54 folders, and it's just there's so many versions. It just makes me laugh.
I think on GitHub you can do a release, which is like a build.
Yeah.
And then you can get rid of the build on your local machine because then you don't need those tons of folders.
Yeah, but I feel like I kind of like it because I can always go back and play them and be like, wow.
Yeah. I guess if they're not like huge builds, then it's not going to be a big
think
issue.
Now it takes up like 53 gigabytes or something.
Like total, yeah. Oh.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a.
It's like the size of a AAA game. Well, the last time I downloaded a big game, I think I tried like Star Wars Battlefront, and it was like 90 gigabytes. I'm never doing that
It's
again.
getting crazy now. It's like the games are huge. It's mad.
It's also because like there's so many different graphics options. They're downloading like all the textures and models for like all these different settings, even though you play the game on one of the settings. I know it gives you the option to move up and down, but it's like a ton of space. Like in a huge game with loads of high-res textures, I mean, obviously, whilst games are getting bigger, storage is also getting cheaper. Like, so there is that balance there. But also, I mean, my hard drive is 1 terabyte, and like it keeps getting full, and I delete stuff and it gets full again, and I'm thinking, oh, should I buy more hard drives, like a bigger hard drive, or I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It's a weird. I feel like something needs to be done with it though, because it's getting pretty ridiculous. Like, because storage on average is like 1 or 2 terabytes for hard drives now, and like if you've got, let's say you're like a real gamer, and you've got like, I don't know, 12 AAA games, that's all of your disk space already gone. It's quite crazy. I think something will probably be done about it eventually. It's just a matter of like waiting a pretty long time.
Well, it is just a case of like, a 1 terabyte hard drive now costs, I've not researched this, but I assume it costs less than it did a few years ago. So it's just going to be the norm now to buy like the standard. Everyone will have a 5 terabyte hard drive rather than a 1 terabyte hard drive. Like,
like, go on.
It's really down to the game developers to, not be lazy and actually optimize their stuff. And and you find with indie games, you download an indie game in 2020, and even then the games, they're like still only less than a gigabyte in some cases, and you think, wow, why is this AAA game, which I have less fun with, so much bigger? Like, people people sometimes see indie games as like inferior games, but also, you know, most people see indie games as actually much better because they know there's no like greedy big corporation behind them for them. You know?
I don't know. It's weird for me because I feel like I like both of the.
Yeah.
I like both. I think of them pretty equally. Like I don't like to sort of have this huge label on them. Like, you know, I just sort of I'll play the game and if I like it sort of thing.
Yeah, the AAA games tend to be the massive multiplayer games, which and then also indie games tend to be more single player or like local co-op. Well, not local co-op, like 2 players, 4 players maybe. They don't seem to be like the big huge games. They are sometimes, but I see there's more of a trend towards the big companies getting the multiplayer games, and that's also because then they can sell free games with microtransactions for the most part. You know, that's not to say there are AAA games that don't have microtransactions, and there are indie games that do, but there is a kind of pattern. I'm gonna wait till
if you could throw a post-COVID party of GameDev YouTubers, who would you invite?
I need to turn down the audio level of that. I get deafened by the text to speech. What was that? Thanks for the donation. If you could throw a post-COVID party of GameDev YouTubers, who would you invite? I mean, like meeting up in person, a party. Game devs are not party people from what I've seen. I mean, I'm speaking for myself here. That's not to say I haven't like partied, but it's still, you know, we'd rather we want to do a big game jam. That'll be it, right? That's the idea.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like a whole, you rent out a whole hall and it's just like everyone is all like doing a game jam. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm thinking we were. I went to this event back in January, February, just before COVID, or just before COVID lockdown and everything, and it was like at Unity at one of their offices, and the plan was we'd all go over there, we'd experience what it's like to be at the office, we'd meet the employees, and then we'd spend the rest of the time doing a game jam, just like all of us. And there was about maybe 20 people, maybe 15 people, like YouTubers. And yeah, the plan, who organized it, she wanted it to be like a big game jam, and it'd be awesome having all these YouTubers game jam together. And in the end, we never did a game jam because we spent too much time exploring the city, talking with the devs, because in Copenhagen is where they do most of R&D. For those that don't know, it's research and development. Basically, it's where most of the changes on the engine actually happen, where most of the features are made, and where they do most of the work on the engine. So it was a really great opportunity to meet like the leads of different teams, like the leads of Dots, ECS, the leads of animation, the leads of all these different things. So the plan was, just go game jam, but we ended up just spending loads of time like eating in the cafeteria with the lead of this team and just talking about features and stuff. And yeah, I can't talk about it, NDA stuff, you know, but I can't talk about what they told us. To be honest, didn't tell us really that much like new stuff anyway. And even if they did, like I said, wouldn't be able to say anyway. But yeah, for a game jam of YouTubers, I'd need limits, because if there's no limit, then let's just invite every game dev ever. I'm trying to think. I mean, I think it'd be cool to like get back all the people I've done Q&A streams with, just because.
Yeah, I've thought about that with like my podcast. It would be so cool to have like everyone I've spoken to just like in one room. It'd be really weird.
Yeah, because the thing is, some of the people I've streamed with, I already have met in person at that event. Some of them I haven't, like you or like Gabby or Alan, let's say. But the thing is, for these streams, I want to keep them interesting, each week having a different person. But then also, it would be nice to interview the same person again. But I feel like I want to wait until I've got enough different people before I start revisiting.
Yeah, that's what I started doing.
Yeah. So it would be cool at some point. Like, I haven't spoken to some of those people in a while. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't got a good answer to that. Just, you know, there's so many people I could list that I'd like to party with, and by party we mean game jam, or do nerdy stuff, play games. We do need like a Unity YouTuber Among Us like tournament or something. I don't know, actually. I've heard competitive Among Us just does not work at all. But yeah, I don't know. It'd be cool to like have like a gaming thing that we could all stream and people can watch. I think it'd be cool for the community, or like a game jam, you know, a game jam where like we host it as like creators, and then our communities can take part too, and there's kind of like 2 prizes, like one for the community and one for the creators, and maybe the creators would be in teams of, let's say, 3 or 4 or 5 or something. So we'd have like these different teams of like Dapper Dino and Matt and this guy and that one, whatever, and then we'd have our own little game jam tournament going on. We'd submit to go against each other where the community would vote, and then likewise we'd do it back or something. I don't know, it's an idea, and we have thrown it around before with some of the other people. It's just the actual organization of that is going to be very difficult. So
yeah, that'd be it'd be quite
I'm really hoping we get it one day, maybe someday.
Yeah, I mean that Discord server we're in, they have been speaking about that quite a little bit. So I'll be definitely intrigued if that goes ahead, because that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like who's stuff that I watch like that do maybe not tutorials but more like showing off what they've made, you know, not like a showing off like, hey, look how good I am, but like yeah, I mean, I really like watching Finn Matrix stuff, Sebastian Lag, Andre Mix and Jam.
I don't know how Finn Matrix would be in a game jam.
Like, yeah, he seems like, very methodical and thought out, and like not time pressured on he's very peaceful.
He seems so lax
and calm.
It would be interesting to see him like under pressure in a game jam.
Yeah, I'm sure he's done them at some point. We need to get Jabril's in on that game jam. But actually, that's one of the main things he said was he doesn't actually like game jams. He said like, you know, he did it, he got the experience out of it, but he says he doesn't like it for various reasons. And honestly, I can't remember the exact reasons, and I don't want to misquote him. But you know, they'll be there back on the previous live stream VOD. What else have we got here? Either of us do anything with cloud and game programming, Amazon Web Service or Azure? I mean, like I said, I might at some point look into it for Mirror, like as hosting. But you said something about for the Xbox release, some cloud thing you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean that's more to do with like I can't really talk about it because of NDA. So
okay,
you know, but it is an Xbox thing. But yeah, I haven't really. It is quite difficult.
Yeah, I guess the answer is most of the stuff I've done is locally on my own machine. You know, I haven't been deploying game builds up to the cloud. I haven't messed with that too much yet, but I'm sure it'll be happening at some point. Especially like Unity have their own thing called like PlayFab that they acquired however long ago, and that's something to do with hosting games. And I'm not that in the loop with it all. There's so much stuff Unity does that like it's hard
that you don't even like realize. Yeah.
No, like I'll be told one day, oh yeah, Unity has this like platform called this, and I'm like, what? And the chances are it isn't. It's like something they like bought or like a part of. Sometimes it is their own complete thing. It's like is it Vivox, their like voice chat solution or something?
Yeah.
I didn't realize Riot use it. I play League. I didn't realize Unity owned it or, you know, developed it or whatever. And then I realized like, wait, most of the games I play use it actually. And it's not like it's a Unity add-on that you can only use with Unity games. It's like engine agnostic. It's nothing to do with the engine. It's just a voice chat platform that you integrate with. And I've never done it, and maybe I will at some point because people ask for tutorials on hundreds of different things all the time. So I think I've seen that crop up in the comments somewhere before. Yeah, and as you said, you're not going to talk too much more about the cloud stuff. So yeah, we'll move on from that. I mean, yeah, I didn't have much to say either. I've not done it really, so yeah. How do you control the scope of your project so that it can be finished before the universe does? Okay. Well, scope of projects. I think you'll probably have quite a bit to say about it, considering you're at the point of nearly releasing. So.
Yeah, I mean, back when we started, it was just a game jam thing, and you know that's quite easy to like. Well, sometimes it's easy. It sort of depends if you're lucky with the theme or not. But you know, after that we did this. It was the worst spreadsheet you've ever, but we stuck to it, and it just sort of goes through all the enemies and stuff that we wanted to implement, and we just used that as a basis that, like, you know, we would only ever have this many enemies and this many bosses. I mean, we wouldn't go further than that, and we would just finish at that. And when we were planning it out, we were like, initially I was like, oh, we could do, 5 lots of enemies or something. But eventually we dimmed it down to 3. And I don't really remember the reasoning behind it. I think it was more like, we just didn't really have the experience that, like, we didn't really know what releasing a commercial game was like anyway. So we were just sort of like, well, we'll start off really small and we'll see. But yeah, starting off really small is probably the most important. Like, even when you you think you know what you're doing, chances are you probably won't know exactly what you're doing nearer to release. There are so many things that I didn't even think about that have just propped up, and I'm like, oh, now I need to learn this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's controlling the scope of your project it's a really tough sort of thing. It's really something that you'll learn over time, rather than just someone saying, hey, you should definitely do it like this and this, because I don't think there's one right way of doing it. But just having a clear goal in mind, and then giving yourself or allowing yourself to change that goal if things get too tough. If there's only one person on the team, then chances are you're probably not going to be able to finish a project with loads of features in the space of a year, let's say. So making sure you have a timeline as well is really important.
Yeah, I'd say, like you said, having a small scope can also mean kind of having a prototype, or it doesn't mean you're saying this is all the game will ever be, but at least saying, this is a cutoff point where this is first release, and or at least a point where I want to say, okay, it's ready to give to some beta testers or some friends, and there's something there for people to test. Because if you kind of tunnel vision for the end goal at the start, and you never get there and never finish, you never release anything, and you never actually get the experience of releasing a product. But once you've got it released, updating it is going to be a lot easier because everything is all set up. So like you said, you had more enemies in mind or whatever, and there's no reason why just add them later. I know that doesn't mean encourage people to release unfinished games, but it's more a case of actually release games as opposed to just having them in development until the end of the universe, as the question was phrased. Yeah. I guess my answer would be my answer is the kind of prototype thing. Like I said, get I can't remember all the terms, vertical slice is and horizontal whatever. It's vertical slice, I think, doesn't that mean implement all the different features, but not in depth necessarily. Have the feature there. If you build a quest system, don't then build every quest in the game. That kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. It's just make the feature so you can prove it works, and people can get their hands on it. Once it works, same with enemies. Make the enemies work, and then killing, spawning, whatever else your enemies do, attacking. And then once that works, making the next enemy will be a lot easier because you hopefully made good code that's a lot reusable. That's If someone told me to stop doing what I love, I would smack them with my keyboard. Okay. I should stick to questions rather than just reading random chat messages. But does anybody know how much a Unity developer's first job salary should be? Every time I get asked, I have no idea what to say. I don't know either because I've not actually worked as a Unity dev. I mean, anything I've been paid for in terms of Unity has either been educationally related or kind of consultancy related. I've done some stuff with some people where they've paid me for we've done private mentoring sessions with people where they've got a game but they need it to work in multiplayer, and they know I do multiplayer and they don't want to take this thing they've already got. And sometimes it's a good idea to start from scratch with a multiplayer game. You shouldn't build it with single player in mind and then try and convert it. It's much better to start from the start.
Lose your mind with that.
Yeah. But some people have got to the point where they really need that help. So I don't know how much an entry job would be. As also country is country dependent. Company dependent.
It's
so much to
how
it.
big the company is as well. If it's an indie company, it's that's a hard thing too, because that could also play a huge part into it.
Sometimes you might go for an indie company because you really envision what they envision too, and you might accept a lower wage because you understand they don't have as much funding as these big companies yeah, I can't really give an answer, like I said, because I don't know, sadly. I'm not going to just mislead and throw out a random value. And like, yeah, different countries, it's going to be completely different. Different living costs, different currency conversions, and yeah, there's a lot more to that. Rob was saying, I know UK web entry level job gets 22 to 25 depending on education and how good the interview goes. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know, does game dev pay as much, the same, more than web dev? I don't know.
No idea.
I think Unity either has or used to have like an actual job page on their website where companies that need developers could post jobs on there.
I don't think it was ever used.
No, I tried to use it once, like just to see how it worked, and it just seemed pretty dead. Like, I don't know if they got rid of it because it wasn't used, but yeah, it was like LinkedIn but for Unity developers only. And yeah, I don't think it really. Maybe it was used a long time ago, but it seemed to just stop being used. Yeah. What's a new game dev thing you've learnt this week? Oh.
I don't know.
I learnt something. I'll wait. Yeah.
Unless... I don't think I've learnt anything this week.
What day we're on? We're on Wednesday, aren't we? So yeah, it was yesterday. Oh, I'll answer that in a minute. But
if I wanted to commission you guys, or even have you guys mentor me, how do we contact you about that?
Okay, the voice, texted whatever. I can't. So, what were we just asking? I always lose my train of thought whenever text-to-speech comes on.
What new thing have you learned?
Oh,
yesterday?
The new thing. Yeah. So yesterday we had a happy hour call. It was basically just a call that Unity organized on Zoom, and it was just a few people. Well, a few, it was like 20-ish. And we just chatted about game dev, caught up because we'd not met each other in a long time, coronavirus stuff, online, whatever. And one of the people had a problem in their own project, so they screen shared, and we had all of us trying to figure out the problem. And it was that in the inspector, you have all your components, and you can compact them down with a little arrow key. And so let's say with a box collider, if you minimize it, then the gizmo goes away. You don't see the box around it. It stops rendering it. So it's pretty safe to say that the on-draw gizmos thing in the mono behavior? Yeah. So that doesn't get drawn if that object is minimized, if the little drop down is closed. That's not the thing I learned. That was something I already knew. But I was thinking, okay, but what happened was, obviously there's also the transform gizmo, right? Transform is a component that has to be there. And the problem they had in their project was the game ran smoothly, moving this is only in the editor. If they were moving around the scene with their camera, panning around, moving the camera, it would be super duper laggy if the transform was open, where you could see the position, scale, and rotation. But if you minimized it, everything was smooth in the editor. So we're thinking, okay, for some reason, having the transform gizmo open was making it lag a ton. And we had no idea why, and they had no idea why. That's why they were asking. And I was thinking, well, maybe, and other people were thinking, maybe it's to do with gizmos because, gizmos get drawn, but they don't get drawn when the thing's shut. And so we got out the profiler, and yeah, it was gizmos that was making it lag. The really weird thing is, you'd expect, let's say you've written your own custom component, and you minimize it, and you open it, your own gizmo code will be ran and stop running because it's open and closed. The weird thing is, it was the transform component, which we don't write the transform component, and that's Unity themselves, and that's given in the engine, and as far as I'm aware, you can't edit the gizmo drawing of that. Maybe you can somehow, but yeah, it was actually their own script, but it was nothing to do with the transform. They commented it out, and everything ran smoothly. So I guess at the end of the day, I didn't actually learn anything. I just became even more confused because I'm wondering, why did that actually make a difference? I'm sure they've gone to figure it out. We at least found the source of the issue, but we don't know what the solution is. They've hopefully gone and figured it out. I guess by the looks of it, you've learned something new now. You seemed quite...
Yeah, no, yeah. I didn't even...
Yeah.
I probably saw it before. It's one of those things that, you accidentally do and then, you fix it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's something that I didn't even sort of think about.
Well, gizmos rendering if you open and close it,
Yeah. Just never came to mind. I've probably done it before by accident though.
Well, I like to compact them as much so that it just uses up less space, and I only open up the ones I'm messing with. But then it's annoying with box colliders because I want to always be able to see the box collider. But if you minimize it, the box just disappears. So I wish there was a way to. I say I wish there's a way. There will be a way. It's not worth it. I'll just leave the box colliders open and shut my own scripts that don't have their own gizmos. But yeah, that was something. Oh yeah, so the question, the donation. Yeah, if I wanted to commission you guys or have you mentor me, how do we contact you about that? Well, I don't want to answer for you, but I assume you don't do that. Do you? If you do, you can mention it.
No, I don't really do that. No.
Yeah, I've done it like a few times in the past. It's in the past just been for general Unity things, but recently it's been more for Mirror. Like the channel's kind of, it's not blown up to like millions, but we've had big increases recently from all of the Mirror things. People just want to make multiplayer games and not many people are covering it. And we've also obviously got the course now as well as the channel. So yeah, if you want to like reach out about that, then you can on our website, which is, Mick can link it in the chat, but on our website there's like a contact form you can submit, or you can message me on Discord, preferably on the website, because we actually will check that. I don't check every single Discord DM. I know some people just turn off their Discord DMs. I'm not yet at the point where I need to do that, but I feel bad for some people who probably get DM'd every day by tons of people, and it like fills up their chat. Mine's already pretty full now, just from like random group chats and friends and stuff in there. But yeah, Mick can link that stuff in the chat, I'm sure. Question for oh, that's why that person. Okay, I realized why the person asked the question earlier about the smashing the keyboard. Said, if someone said you're not allowed to do game dev anymore, what would replace it? I've never had to think about that. Yeah, if I tell you now that you're not allowed, it's illegal in the UK. It's illegal to make games. Yeah.
I'll probably do software development then.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like that's like kind of it's not a cop-out answer, but it also kind of is. Like, it's what I'd say too. Like, I just do other areas of programming because I like it. It's a shame that I wouldn't be able to do game dev anymore, but I
think for me, like, I'm already doing it anyway. So like for me, it sort of would make sense because like I've already got the experience with it anyway. So I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to be told I'm not allowed to do that thing, but yeah, I think I'd be able to live.
Yeah.
I would mean the channel content would have to change quite a bit because pretty much every tutorial I do is Unity at the moment. So I'd have to start making web tutorials and more go back to Discord bots and other things, start learning some AI. I don't know. I just have to change the channel completely. Would that mean that I have to stop doing game dev, or everyone has to stop doing game dev? Because, you know, if game dev continues and people want tutorials but I'm not allowed to do them, then everyone's just going to leave.
Oh,
so
no.
Yeah, at least make the same rule for everyone. If I'm not allowed, then, you know, I don't want to get jealous of everyone else being able to continue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I now understand why someone said that.
I'll probably have a breakdown a bit afterwards though. Like if the UK we're like, all right, no more game development anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just like, no.
It's one of those things where it's like, I wouldn't be surprised now if someone said that after everything. I would be surprised, but I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
What's this? What's more in demand, 3D modeling or rendering? What do you mean by rendering? Like, I don't think rendering itself is like a job. Really? Like, I mean, first of all, I don't know the answer because I'm not hiring people, so I can't answer it in that sense. But
yeah, I don't know.
I'm just thinking logically, like, yeah, I don't know. What does he mean by rendering? Who was it that asked the question? If you can just ask again in chat, but with like more details, then maybe we'll be able to answer that.
Yeah.
Yeah, mix AFK for 5 minutes, so behave in the chat, please. Okay. I feel like someone says that, then everyone just wants to break the rules. Like, just everyone wants to mess around. It's like the teacher's left the classroom or something. I'm not trying to manage chat right now, so yeah. A different question we have is, what steps do you take to go from a spark of an idea to a playable game? How did your spark become a game that is coming out soon?
I mean, initially it was like the worst drawing you've ever seen. I made this programmer art. You know how awful it can be.
I'm one of those.
And it was just I think it was a bunch of circles and like arrows, and I was like, yeah, you shoot from this little circle, and you shoot other circles at bigger circles, and that was where it came from.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, it's I think for me it was just sort of like one, like the idea of our game just sort of came from the Game Jam theme anyway, because like the Game Jam theme was start with nothing, and I was like, oh, you could build up an army, that'd be cool. And like, yeah, we sort of went a little bit with that idea. I'd say in general to actually like build it up, I'd say making sure you have a good workflow and making sure like you're planned out for the future, and like making sure you have like sort of you make regular risk assessments. Like, let's say, I don't know, your computer, like there's a deadline in like 2 weeks or something, and your computer is like explodes. I know it's super dramatic, but you know, let's say it broke, I don't know, you know, what do you do, sort of thing. And like making sure you actually know, like even though it's not necessary to do the actual game itself, it's really important to have like backup plans, because like things change very dramatically. Like, I think that goes for everything as well. Like, you know, a year or two ago, like before I even had a business, like, you know, I didn't really think, oh yeah, what if this happens, what if that happens? But when you have a business, you start taking things a lot more seriously, and you're like,
yeah, I mean,
right,
before I did the channel and stuff, funnily enough, my PC exploded, my power supply exploded. I'd had my PC for ages, and like it was the first proper PC I had, like my own PC, as opposed to like a family one. And my granddad had built it. He's the one who got me into like how I know how to build a PC. He taught me originally, and he built it back in, I was in year 6. Yeah, again, speaking to someone from the UK, you know what I mean. Most people might not, but so what age was it? Like 11 years old, maybe.
Yeah, 10. 11,
yeah, so about then, when I started high school or just finished primary school, I got my own PC, and the main reason I got it was because our family PC was awful and it couldn't run anything at all. So he kind of spoiled me for my birthday, I guess, like, or as a going to high school kind of present, here's a PC. It wasn't amazing, but it could actually run stuff better than our family PC. And, you know, it ran Skyrim, it ran Minecraft, like all the stuff I was playing at the time, like when I started high school. And then as I got to near the end of high school, Overwatch came out. I binged Overwatch. I played a lot of Overwatch. And then, like, my PC could just about handle it. And then one day, the screen just went black, but I was still in the call with everyone on Discord or whatever I was using at the time. And I was like, my screen's gone off. My monitor's kind of just died. I thought it was my monitor. And then my PC just went bang. Like, literally, there was like a spark, like a flash of light. And it, yeah, and then my PC turned off, surprisingly. And then, yeah, I was like, well, my PC is busted and everything's broken. And then I ended up, like, turning it off at the wall and just walking away, because I did not want to get electrocuted or whatever. I don't know what could happen. Luckily, my dad's an electrician, but he couldn't really help. He didn't know much about PCs. But eventually I was like, yeah, my power supply exploded. It's just been so old and like overused. I had it for about 6 years, and I know you're meant to update your PC like hardware maybe every 3 years is like the normal, maybe. Yeah, I'd pushed it long past its date. So I couldn't use my PC. Luckily, it didn't break any other parts. I know a lot of the time breaking one part of your PC can like damage other parts. I was lucky in that sense, it didn't. But yeah, I had to go get a new power supply. I couldn't for like 2 days use my PC because delivery. So yeah, now I'm lucky. That was before I needed my PC for like my day job effectively. So if that happened now, yeah, that would be quite bad. Yeah, backup plans.
You don't want to think about it.
No, I don't want to have a second PC in my cupboard ready for when this one dies. But I mean, to be honest, because of most stuff I do is recording related, whether that's channel, course, live streams, you know, always recording and talking. I always have like a spare headset in the cupboard ready, just in case, you know, the wire frays and goes weird and dodgy or something like that. And
yeah,
I also usually buy their same headset just so that consistent audio, so that I don't just sound different in my videos, or like when I'm making the course, I want to sound the same throughout. I don't want to halfway through just change my entire thing. So yeah, what was the... I always, like, by the time we get to the end of both answering, I forget what the original question was because we went off on our own tangent. That might be my fault, but I just wanted to say, as you said, PC exploding, I was like, I just had flashbacks to when my PC exploded. So, yeah, that was, funnily enough, yeah, that was to go from a spark of an idea to a playable game. Well, my PC went from a spark to an explosion, so. Yeah, assuming unlimited time and money, what would your dream game be to make? Like, what would your dream game be with unlimited money and time?
Oh, I've answered this question so many times because I know the person that's asking this question, but like each time it changes. I don't know. To be fair, it's really it's always up in the air. It's like one of those things that I don't really have a dream in mind of like the game I want to make, but I have a dream in mind of like where I want to be. But it'd probably be like some sort of third-person shooter thing, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
I couldn't even tell you. Like with some high fidelity graphics, that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just want like the time. The thing I enjoy doing in Unity in my own time is not having the vision of like releasing the game. I just want to mess with the stuff in the engine. Like I want to. Yeah. I spend most of my time thinking about like, because I'm more of a programmer. I think about like the code architecture and how I can really make something really modular and just add something new without breaking all the old stuff. Because that's the thing that's haunted me the most, is everything I've made in the past, even if I've got it done for a game jam, it's so awkward to add more to it without copy-pasting code and doing loads of inheritance mess. And I think the way to help me here the most is like when ECS comes out, it's more designed that way, where everything is very separate and reusable. But that's in preview. Yeah. The new multiplayer stuff supports ECS and dots and the normal game object way. It supports both, but yeah, again, it's not out yet. I mean, I don't know a date. I'm not hiding a date. I actually don't know the date, but I've heard maybe a year, and a year's a long time. So yeah, and even then, in a year, it might only be out of preview or in preview. So then it won't actually be ready to use commercially yet. So it is going to be a while before there's Unity's official out-of-the-box really good solution. But
But when it does come, it'll be really good. So
yeah, and I'm gonna try my best to get as early access as I can to that, just to like learn it, because some people say, why are you doing tutorials on early stuff that's not out yet? I mean, the main reason isn't to tell you to use it now. I very clearly usually say like, this is the new UI stuff, just to let you know this is coming in the future, and you're gonna at some point have to move on to this. Sure, it'll be different to how it is right now, but you know.
What is the funniest thing you came across whilst developing?
I think
as in like weird code or with
you? It's like your channel's like a library, like people can just search up through the books and be like, oh, I want that one, So when it comes to it, it'll be helpful. Like, I think that's the advantage of like tutorials and stuff. Is like, while sometimes they can get like outdated, like at the same time, there are so many things that are still, not outdated by the time they look at them.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff will be the same or slightly different, and if you know how to use it in preview, when it comes out, you've got a less to learn. Everyone else that's waiting till release will then be like the starting line, but you'll have a head start because you already know a lot of it. So, like I said, I do tutorials. A lot of people are happy to learn something that they're not going to use just yet, or maybe they'll make a separate project to have a little play around with it, so then when it comes out, they're just ready to go, and they're like, haha, everyone else is behind and I know what to do because I tried the preview packages. So I think preview packages are definitely worth it. Also for like effectively beta testing feedback before it comes out. You need to have preview packages, otherwise something will get released and it won't have had public testing and it'll just be buggy and missing features that people want. Surprisingly enough, people seem to think Unity doesn't listen to feedback, but they are good at actually listening to feedback and features. That doesn't mean just because you suggest something they gotta add it, you're not their boss.
Yeah.
But also, if you suggest a good feature and it gains traction on the forums and people want it and they see it as a good idea, they do tend to add those things. I mean, there's the new localization stuff coming for, localization, which if people don't know, it's multi-language support for your game. And then there's the new UI system, and you think, well, most of the language stuff is to do with UI, right? It's like, so right now, you can't really use them both together, which is annoying. And I just said I put it on Twitter, like I'd done a video, and I was saying, it'd be cool if like you could mix those two together. And then the head of the localization system was like, yeah, that's coming up in a meeting this week, and we're going to talk about it with the other team, and we're going to get that done at some point. I was like, cool. I'm not trying to say I made them do it. They probably had the idea anyway.
Yeah, no.
But it's nice that they at least responded and saying, yes, we're going to do this. It is important. So, you know.
Yeah. Oh, that localization is going to be very helpful.
Yeah, in the past, I've tried like having an external spreadsheet or using some scriptable object. I mean, I think they use scriptable objects to do it, but making my own solution would never be as good as what they're doing because, like, they already have... I mean, yeah, again, like we were saying right at the start about editor UI, they have much better experience with editor UI as they build the editor. For me to make some like tools to do the same thing as well as they do would be not possible. I'd like to just download, import their own package, have localization. It's really intuitive. Like I had to barely look at the documentation to understand how to get it working. And it supports text on the UI and audio sources. So you could have a character's voice line just be swapped out if it's in English or Spanish or French or whatever.
That's crazy though.
Yeah, it's actually really easy to set up. I was surprised. And you can do it for images as well. So, you know, if you want to display the flag of their country, or even if you could have it in your game where like your character's eating food, but based on which country they're from, like the person playing, it swaps the model for the food. You know, you can do that. I've seen like some like Pokemon in America and in Japan had like them eating different food. And I know that was obviously someone going back and redrawing everything, but you imagine in a game you could have like cultural references that maybe like inside jokes that only that person would get. Maybe it's up to you. You can do whatever you like. That's the power over it, really. What was that other question from the donation? The funniest thing you've came across while developing, as in weird code or whatever. Funniest thing.
Funniest thing.
I've got one slightly funny thing. I don't have anything like amazingly funny. I don't know what you find. But one thing is, when I was streaming with Alan, he was saying that when Unity are building a game engine that lots of people need to use and that needs to be stable for a lot of people for a long time, they can't make drastic changes like that often. Or like they can't change things that are already in the engine that much. It's easy to add new stuff without breaking old stuff, but it's changing stuff that's already there can break. And one thing is, they did a typo in one of their things, and it's still in the engine today, because to fix that typo would mean breaking loads of projects. So, you know how you have physics materials? I might be remembering this slightly wrong, but I think what he said is, you have physics materials, but in some place of the UI or in the under the hood or something, someone did a typo, and it managed to get by, and they'd put psychic material or something like that. Or they just basically there was a typo, and then people have said like, so why don't you just fix the typo? And they're like, well, you see, lots of people in their projects, their code will be, you know, referring to psychic material, because that's how we called it. So now if we do a patch update with the new name, then if they update to the new patch to get a bug fix, they're also gonna break all their code that refers to physics materials. So, like, sure, you can just say, oh yeah, why don't the people with the games just go fix their own code? It's like, yeah, but can you just imagine as a company, you've got your game, it's commercially available to hundreds of thousands of people, you update your engine to get a new patch, and it just breaks the game. You'd be pretty annoyed. So the entire point in a patch is it's not meant to break stuff, it's only meant to add bug fixes. You might expect breaking changes across major versions like 2020.1 to go up to 2020.2, but from 2020.1 F1, you don't expect it to break when you go to 2020.1 F2, or there's so many. I don't know how they do that versioning, but it's like in version numbers you have like, I mean, there's people do it in different ways, but you generally have like your major version number and the minor number, and you up the major number whenever there's a breaking change. Like, this can break old projects, and theoretically patches should not break anything. They shouldn't be they shouldn't be removing old stuff and just leave it, you know. If they make a change, it should not break. That's the simple way of thinking about it. Yeah, if you had anything funny, I don't know, funny coding things.
I don't know.
Like,
not really anything funny. Most of the time I'm like, oh damn it, why? That's usually how it goes.
Like being annoyed at yourself, like, or something.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that could also be quite funny sometimes. Like, sometimes you're like, that is the most simple thing, and it like went over your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find that quite entertaining sometimes.
To look back on it.
Oh, I'm like, honestly, that took me 2 minutes just now. Like, you know, like, I don't know, let's say like the day before you had encountered this bug and you spent the whole day doing it, but then like a day later you are like, okay, I'll try and fix this. It takes like 2 minutes.
Yeah, I've had plenty of those scenarios of like spending days, ages, whatever, hours, weeks, days on something, and I've grown to appreciate when you get stuck on something, maybe if it's possible to leave it and come back to it later, because sometimes when you're not at your PC or even when you're just doing work on a different feature, you'll just the solution will pop into your head
like,
or something.
Your brain's like, oh, remember we were programming this feature the other day. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess it's frustrating, but it's kind of funny. Yeah, I don't think anything like miraculously funny's happened. It's a game engine. It's a piece of software. You know, it's like, yeah, it's not the most entertaining thing in the world. It's not where I look for my my humor. Assuming no, wait, we already did that one. What was your greatest game dev failure? Did you learn from it, or are you doomed to repeat it? That's quite a sinister question.
Greatest game dev failure. I don't know. I don't think there's a almighty one. I mean, I think the greatest failure would probably be back when I started. When I first made tried to make my first proper game. Like my source control sort of skills were really quite inadequate, and I was scared to use source control. And then I paid the price. I don't need to fill in the blanks, but yeah, you can imagine what happened with without having source control. You know, I lost the files, and that was, you know, that's I luckily learned from that, and I've learned, you know, GitHub is your friend, not your foe.
Yeah, I feel like for me, it might just be myself. I've got better at like not doing this, but over refactoring. Like I said, one of the things I enjoy the most in my own time is like thinking about the design. And because I'm not on a time limit, like I'm not on a deadline with a commercial product, I can afford to just mess around and have fun and try and figure stuff out. So it's not that bad. It's when working on a commercial product or a game jam where there is a deadline, it's like, no, we can't refactor. No one's gonna care, you know. If I spend an hour refactoring now, how much time is it actually gonna save me? Probably nothing, because after 2 days I'm never gonna touch this project again. So, and no one's paying for it, and it doesn't have to, it's not like fixing it for bugs, that's different. This is like, it already works, but I could make it maybe cleaner and more extensible. But in a game jam, unless you do want to take your game jam game and then continue it afterwards, but I know most people end it there. I think it is good to keep it a short project sometimes, unless it's like an amazing idea, but keep it short. You finish this game, move on to a new game, you know, get the experience for different genres and just getting stuff done. It's always good.
Yeah.
How important is math when it comes to programming? I'm struggling with understanding concepts and uses for them. I wonder what's the best way to learn, or if practicing is better. So maths, well, with what I've done, what most of the math, like I don't do shaders that much, and that's a lot. It's quite math heavy.
Yeah.
And AI is also quite math heavy. So most of the stuff I do is kind of basic stuff. You know, there's a bit of multiplication in there. You know, simple addition, multiplication, subtraction, and division. I think I said all four. Nothing really more than that. I mean, sure, sometimes you got to think about like square roots and stuff like that, but that's as advanced as it gets. Like, I haven't had to do like...
I haven't had to do something really extensive. I mean, I'd say it's less about math and more about logically thinking. Yeah, like that's really what programming is anyway. It's like thinking about, you know, a solution in a logical way. And I think you don't really need to be a maths whiz to do programming. And you know, that's something that's a common misconception as well, is that like you have to be really, really smart to do programming, when like that's not entirely true.
Mick actually just reminded me of something. I can't remember which question it was about, but he said he told me to mention it. So yeah, we have like applications on our website for people to be like the helper role in our server. We used to just like ask them directly, but we found like we got too many requests, so we have them like submit a form, we read through it, and then if like we contact them back if we think they're like they know what they're on about, because we want to make sure that people like with the role in our server are experienced enough to be helping others. Like you can still help others in the chat, but you know, if you see someone with a role, you expect like whatever they say is correct. There's a bit more thing to that. And what we'd have with GitHub, some people would like on the applications, we'd ask them to link their GitHub so we could have a look at what kind of projects they've worked on to see how they code and what kind of stuff they make, what they're interested in. And we've had times where people have applied and we've looked at their GitHub and it has like one repository and it's just a Discord bot and the code is identical to what I did in the video. So it's like, is this really proof that you know what you're doing, or did you just follow one tutorial and now, yeah, it's kind of funny, I guess. Like we have laughed thinking, oh, like let's go look what they've done. Oh, they made a Discord bot. Cool. What commands have they added? Oh, all the exact same ones I taught in that video. Like we thought they'd at least add their own custom stuff to it, you know, to show, because that's the thing with tutorials. Some people think, yeah, I follow a tutorial and now I know the thing, but you need to actually apply it to really understand. I don't often, like nowadays at least, follow tutorials through like code alongs. I will like refer back to them for the information, or documentation a lot of the time is enough. It depends what I'm using. Sometimes I'll look through documentation and get frustrated, so I might look at a video and hope someone explains it better than the documentation itself, but no, most of the time the docs are fine. Yep. Question for both of us, so you can answer. When you meet new people and they ask what you do during the day, do you find it embarrassing? Have you ever lied?
No. I'm not embarrassed by what I do. I'm proud of what I do.
Yeah, same. Like,
I think what I'm doing is pretty cool.
Yeah,
like,
same.
That, like, when I was young, as like a kid, it's like something that's like a dream. It's like, wow, imagine being a programmer. That's cool, you know. And like when you're doing it, like, wow, now I'm so cool. Like, I don't think I'm not embarrassed by it. I think I celebrate the fact that I can make games. I think it's an awesome, like, I was about to say ability. It sounds like a superhero
superpower,
thing. But, yeah, but I don't know. If people ask what I do, then yeah, I usually just say I make games, and I leave it at that. I don't like say, oh yeah, I do all this stuff, because chances are they're not even gonna know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I leave it there until they ask a bit more. Then I like sometimes can't hold back and explain like, well, I do this and this and this and this and this and this and this.
And then you're like, oh no, sorry,
I feel bad
again. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, I try and restrain and say, oh yeah, like I do like tutorials on YouTube and I mentor people and like do game dev stuff and web. I maybe that's as much as I say, and then they'll be like, depending on who it is, they might be more interested, or like they might actually know rough about the thing. They might be into game dev themselves or programming, or they might want to get into it. So you know, but most people, like if I ever talk to my parents about it, you know, they sound interested, and I'm sure they are. They try to be interested, but then like the second I mention a programming language, they just turn off their brains. It's like, yeah, like, we're too old for that. And then I think like, yeah, but my granddad is older than you and he's into it all, so age is not like a reason to not be into it. You could just not be interested. I don't think age is the reason. It's kind of, you know,
no, I don't think so either,
because obviously you get like really young people, but also there's really old people. I mean, you know.
Yeah. You get like an 8-year-old granddad making games. That would be quite an interesting video to watch.
Yeah, I mean they'll be wise and have knowledge of how to do it back in old languages before our time.
Yeah,
that's
assembly.
Not I made Pac-Man in assembly or something. Like, no idea how to do that, and you're not going to find tutorials on it probably because it's just time has moved on, you know. Do we have any new questions since that? We have one person asking the history behind the Dino logo. So I guess the name kind of ties in with the logo, because sadly I guess there's not much history behind your name, which is your name. The logo. Well, so the name Dapper Dino was, I was playing, you know, I'm a hardcore gamer. No, I play games, kind of expected from a game dev. Not, I guess, if you work in game dev, you play games, I think. for the most part. Yeah. So like we all wanted to change our like online names. I guess, whenever I say gamer tags, that sounds like it's for console, but we play PC most of the time. So, well, I play PC all the time. I've not owned a console in years. But we wanted like consistent names, so we were all similar names. Not with like something before our name to be like not like a tag, but more of a theme. So one of my friends already had the name like Exquisite Raptor or something. So it was like basically posh word dinosaur, and we just all then made names. And my name, obviously, Dino isn't a dino; it's just the word dino. So it's what happened was I had the name. I looked up on like a dinosaur dictionary thing, like dinosaurs beginning with D, and like to be because it was alliteration. Well, I know Exquisite Raptor is not alliteration, but some of us wanted alliteration, and there was only one dinosaur beginning with D, and it was like Diplodocus or like Diplodocus. And then I used that as my name for a bit, and I realized that's too long as a YouTube name, and it just doesn't sound right. And when I tell people my channel, saying, "Oh yeah, Dapper Dino" is much easier than Dapper Diplodocus. Like, how do I spell that? You know, some people ask, and so I changed it very, very early on. And then so there I had the name Dapper Dino, and then one of my friends who does like digital art, who I was at school with, does digital art. So I just said like, "Hey, would you be up for like making a logo?" And this was way back. This was pretty much 2 years ago. And then like she made the logo, and then you know there's a logo. And then recently we've got an updated version logo that's like higher res, a bit more detail on it. It looks the same. If we didn't tell you it was a new logo, you wouldn't notice. Maybe if you scaled it up, you'd notice. And like there'll probably be some social medias where I've not yet updated it, but I think I've done it pretty much everywhere. And we also updated it so we could use it in our new YouTube intro, thumbnail, outro, stream stuff. Like, we've recently gone through an overhaul of making stuff look better. Because everything we had in the past was just me chucking stuff into photo editor and fingers crossed it doesn't look too bad. But we're kind of taking it a little bit, we're becoming a bit more professional now. Just a little bit more. So, yeah, history behind the logo is to do with the name, which is to do with just posh dinosaurs. So we've got Dapper Dino, Exquisite Raptor, Splendid Saurus, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, initially my YouTube name was Metabulous, and like that just came from like combining Matt and Fabulous for some reason. It just sort of came to mind. I was like, oh, this works pretty well. But yeah, then I changed to my normal name.
Oh yeah, and then one of my friends also had Spiffing Dino. He's in the chat telling me. I didn't realize he'd be watching. But yeah, that's the thing. I felt bad because I had Diplodocus. We all had different dinosaur things, but I had to shorten it to just Dino to have the alliteration. And I think people like the name. It's memorable. The logo's memorable. And people like animals. I mean, there's a lot like Code Monkey. There's like GameDev Duck. I don't know. Just like animals are like quite memorable. I know a lot of devs actually like to go with their name because it's like, especially when it's about like your journey as like a game dev. I don't know, it feels better.
Feels more personal, I think.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
I think when I started it, I never considered using my name as my channel name. It just wouldn't sound right. I don't know. Like, I think Matt Bull is nice and short. It's like a really short name and it like rolls off the tongue a bit better than like my channel's been called Nathan Farrer. I don't know. It just doesn't quite sound right. Dapper Dino, I'm definitely glad I went with that. That's not like dissing my own name or anything. I just think for a channel name, it doesn't sound as good. What do we have? Any more questions? Mick hasn't sent any more questions to us. What's going on in the chat? You guys seem to have the same chair. Yeah, I guess that's someone who joined a bit later on. At first we were thinking, let's not tell anyone, and then someone realized, so we talked about it a bit, and we have the same chair, completely coincidentally. I mean, I guess we're both in the UK, we both went on Amazon and both got the same recommended chair that looked good, so there you go. I guess that's what happened. It's a good chair. I mean, it looks the same as like all the others, except like I made sure this little headrest thing, it has like the same logo on it. It's the same chair, so. There's a lot of people I've seen like, that chair looks the exact same, but when I look closer, it's slightly different, but...
no, same.
Yeah. Whoops, I just opened something. All right. Yeah, we're getting closer to... I don't know how, but magically, unless people know it's like usually a 2-hour stream, but the questions just die out a few minutes before 2 hours, which is convenient because we try and end at 2 hours, because it's both 9 p.m. for both of us. I think one of the last things to mention is, the course that was released yesterday, there is a like 24-hour sale, like big discount code. I think Mick probably has the link somewhere, maybe. Yeah, and the course went live like 9 p.m.-ish last night. So if you get it before whatever the 24 hours from then is, I don't know if it's exactly 9 o'clock, it might be 9:30 or something. But if you use that code, you get it like really cheap. And yeah, if Mick can find that link, that'd be good, because it is approaching 9 o'clock. Otherwise, yeah, you'll just have to wait. I mean, the Udemy release, which is most people are waiting for, that is on Friday. That's like the kind of bigger release. Yeah, that was just the final plug. Yeah, do you want to plug your stuff again right at the end? I mean, links down below, but you can...
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can check out Millions of Minions on Steam. It's coming out on Xbox, and yeah, it's just not really got a scheduled date, because it's up to me and me alone to understand the documentation. But yeah, no, you can check the game out, and yeah, Nathan's just put the link in the chat, so you can just check that out. And yeah,
there's links to our course and links to your Steam page there. Yeah, so I think that's it for the stream. Thanks for joining me on here. Next week, I think I'm not going to promise this, but I think we're going to be having Games Plus James, if any of you are aware of who he is. It's not yet confirmed, but it is likely. And then, yeah, I'm not going to say any more past that, because that's, people get their hopes up. So I'll wait to say whoever's after that until next week. So yeah, thanks everyone for tuning into the stream. If you didn't get your questions answered, which I think we did actually get for everyone's questions. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to come back next week and ask them there. But yeah, thanks for joining. That's it for today, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Check out Matt's links down below and in the chat. And go sub to both our channels. Thanks.